Good morning. I am B. Subbareddy, working as a principal research scientist at the Department of Electrical Engineering, High Voltage Laboratory, Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore. The course for this semester is recent advances in transmission insulators. I will be assisted by one of the project staff for the course. The course mentions the recent advances in transmission insulators. So, we know that presently there are a considerable requirement for the electrical energy across the globe. Many countries including India are adopting ultra high voltage and both AC and DC transmission. Further, high voltage DC transmission is being accepted as it is more economical, particularly for long distance transmission, and high voltage DC long distance transmission is useful to evacuate huge power transfer in comparison to the UHV ultra high voltage AC. See, one of the major problems faced by the utilities is in the design of overhead transmission insulators. These insulators could be of ceramic, glass, or a recently adopted polymeric or a composite type, which are used from extra high voltage to the ultra high voltage AC and DC, and these insulators play a vital role in the performance, in particularly during contaminated or polluted conditions. The primary objective of this course is to see that the participant understand. In the previous semester we have looked into the advances in the UHV AC and DC transmission and distribution systems, where we discussed about various aspects including the towers, the conductors, the hardware, accessories, the issues pertaining to the transmission and so on. In this course we will be emphasizing mainly on the importance of the basic insulation design principles, various types of insulators, outdoor insulators in particular, which are used in transmission, and the recent advances in this insulator technology up to the ultra high voltage levels. What are the issues, the remedial measures which are being adopted, and so on and so forth. So, this course primarily looks into the outdoor insulation part for both the EHV and ultra high voltage applications. So, we know that for extra high voltage or ultra high voltage power transmission, generation is the important point, and in the country, due to the resources availability, the generations could be of a thermal, hydro, nuclear or renewable energy. So, these generation plants are situated at a distances, and the transmission of voltages to the required centers is being done through the transmission system, the transmission towers, the conductors, insulators, the hardware accessories, several of these things play an important role as mentioned. So, these are controlled suitably at a regular intervals, and the transmission voltage is brought down or stepped down to the required value at the substations, and it is being distributed to the customers. The customers or the clients could be the industries, the agricultural activity, or for the domestic purposes. So, the transmission system plays a very important role. In the transmission system, insulators plays a very important role. So, we will be discussing much about the insulators, importance of insulators in the course. So, when you look into the components of a transmission system, you can see that the major components in the transmission system include the towers. Again, the towers depend upon several factors and what is the voltage level which are being carried by the transmission system. You have towers, or the foundation for the towers is also equally important. Then you have conductors, various types of conductors are available for the transmission. You have insulators, these insulators could be of ceramic, glass or recently a polymer type. You have conductor accessories, corona control rings, hardware, many of these things. So, the transmission system plays a vital role. Insulators are very important component of a transmission system where it performs the dual function. One is to mainly support the tower mechanically, and again it isolates electrically the conductor, high voltage conductor. So, these two important functions of an outdoor insulator are very important, and the design of insulator is also very important. So, we will be looking into various aspects pertaining to the design of overhead insulators which are used for a transmission system. The syllabus which would be looked during the course of the time is as follows. We will have a brief discuss about the brief introduction to the development of power transmission, the major components associated with the transmission system. We will look into the importance of insulation coordination. This is a very important criteria for the high voltage aspects. The insulation coordination plays a major role in the design of transmission line. We will be looking into the manufacture, the design and the selection of insulators for transmission and distribution purposes. Again, the manufacturing of the ceramic or a porcelain, the design aspects for various voltage levels and the selection. Similarly, we will be looking into the composite or a polymer type of insulators which are of recent origin, the manufacture, the design, and how it is being adopted for the transmission, distribution, or even the traction purposes. So, we will also be discussing about the ceramic or glass or the non-ceramic or composite insulators, about their performances in the field and the service experience, the issues related to this, the performance over a period of time. So, this gives an important idea to see that how to suitably adopt or suitably select the insulators for a particular location. Then we will be looking into the important aspect, the contamination or the pollution issues which could trigger the flashover of the insulators. This pollution or a contamination is a serious threat for the normal working conditions, that is because of not over voltages. So, during the normal working voltages, the contamination which is built up over a period of time because of the dew, fog or the light rain, the surface becomes wet, the conduction happens, and there could be a trigger of the flashover phenomena which is a threat to the power utilities. We will be focusing on this aspect, and some modeling aspects also will be discussed. We will further look into the failures, importance of reliability, the testing aspects, particularly the high voltage testing techniques which are adopted, and the newer coatings which are also being used for both ceramic and composite insulators. These are of recent additions to the technology. So, we will be discussing about these techniques, particularly in the performance of these insulators in the field. We will also be looking into the performance of insulators, particularly under laboratory aging or long term aging conditions, where for normal conditions, that is normal dry conditions or rain conditions, or due to the low temperature conditions, these performance how to evaluate in the laboratory. It gives an important idea for the utilities and also for the manufacturers to follow, where expectation of the insulator performance over a period of time could be judged by this laboratory performance, long term aging, the methods which are being employed internationally, and how these are being used to interpret the results. So, these brief things will be covered about the various aspects of the insulators. Approximate duration could be of 10 hours or 11 hours. I suggest the following reference books or material to be referred for the course. The references are cited here. The transmission line reference book, which is a important book where gives the information about the extra high voltage and ultra high voltage design aspects. We have a book on extra high voltage AC transmission engineering by the author where it gives an important information for both EHV and UHV systems. Apart from that, you have several of these fundamentals pertaining to the high voltage engineering by Kofel-Zangel, and several recent IEEE journals and conferences and SIGGRAPH papers will also be referred. Important books like Outdoor Insulators written by Ravi Gurur, important in the sense where he has very neatly compared about the ceramics, glass and polymer insulators. So, some of the points we will be discussing in this course. We have also an important book on insulators and high voltage by Looms and a recent book by Papalov and Skumak, where it clearly mentions about the recent silicon or a composite type of insulators which are being adopted for the very high voltage transmission. So, the material design aspects, application and so on. Several technical reports apart from the reference books, we also look into the reports which are published by the Central Electricity Authority or a Power Grid Corporation of India. Apart from that, the lecture notes which it is being offered at the institute is also been looked into this course. So, this overall the course is a very important aspects for the utility engineers, the students who are at the BTech and master students looking into the importance of outdoor insulation. This reference books will be a very useful course. So, this is about the details. Thank you so much.